I'm Mark Noble, and welcome to Making the Fourth Wall, the podcast that gives a behind-the-curtain peek at community theater and live performances. I am thrilled to be joined today by Melissa Noble, the stage manager of Neil Simon's Come Blow Your Horn production at Somerset Valley Players, which opens March 6th. Now, full disclosure, Melissa is not only the greatest stage manager I've ever had the pleasure of working for, but she's also my life partner, best friend, without whom my life would be a complete mess. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You bet. So, Melissa, this is my first time doing a in-person podcast. All podcasts that I've done previously have always been remote, so there's a little bit different dynamic, and I'm kind of digging this. So, looking forward to today's discussion.
Me too.
So, Melissa, in our last episode, we got to talk to Todd, who's the director of the show, and got a sense of what it means to be a director in a community theater production.
Sure.
Most folks who are not inside the community theater or live performance environment really don't know or understand what a stage manager is or does. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what stage manager does through the life cycle of a performance?
So, for me, I feel like stage management is being the director's right-hand person. Mm-hmm. Even we start the process, even before auditions, we go over the script. We try to figure out what kind of actors we're looking for, what kind of character traits we're looking for. So we start even before the audition process. Then during rehearsals, I'm writing down blocking notes, character notes, anything that needs to be written down. I take care of all that kind of stuff. More of the organizer.
Yes.
Of the process, making sure that everybody's on the same page, even not just the cast, but also the production team as well. You have your set designer, and you have your costumer, and your props person, and the set builder. So you got to make sure everybody's all on the same page, has the same. Make sure the director's view is.
So the director is kind of playing the creative lead, and the stage manager is more of the operational lead for.
Yeah, I make sure that it all gets done, so his vision is up on that stage.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what does that process look like? Take me through it from you talked about planning things out ahead of time. Then you get to auditions. What does a stage manager do at an audition?
Well, sometimes stage managers will be with the auditioners, handing out the sheets for them to fill out, and then bring that up to the director. Most directors I work with like to have me in the auditions with them, because they like to go over some things. What did you think about that actor? What kind of things? Who can we pair up next? Mm-hmm. That will you kind of see some chemistry to see if it'll work for the show. So I personally like that kind of role when we're doing auditions.
And that makes good sense, right? Since you've got to ultimately be the one who receives the show and has to run it and has to work with those actors, for you to have input into that early on makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So you get through auditions and you've got a show cast. Talk to me a little bit about what a stage manager does now and getting ready to move forward into rehearsals and that sort of stuff.
So the director usually comes up with a rehearsal schedule, mm-hmm. and then I'll review it with him to make sure nothing was missing. And then what I do personally is I like to send out a weekly reminder to all the cast and production staff in case they want to come and kind of sit through some of the rehearsals to get a feel for the show. I like to send out a weekly reminder of who's called at what rehearsals and what we're going to be doing, what kind of material we're going to be working on, so everybody knows what's going on a weekly basis.
Okay, great. And once you get into rehearsals, what does that look like? What is the stage manager doing at the actual rehearsals?
Well, even before rehearsals start, what I typically do is I go through the entire script and make sure I know when sound needs to be added into the show, some pieces of costumes that are pertinent to the show, lights, if there's special effects that we need or whatever. And then during the rehearsal process, I'll be the one, as they're practicing lines on stage, I'll add in those different things so they know what's coming, so nobody's. But in the beginning of the rehearsal, what I typically do is write down all the blocking, and sometimes I'll have the blocking ahead of time.
Yep.
And I just make sure, we still want to do that or change things if things are being changed on stage. And I'll also write down some of the character traits. Hey, I want you to be, more energetic here. I want you to, that kind of thing.
Right, right. And for our audience, we established this in the first episode, but in case you missed it, blocking is the positioning of the actors on stage and the movement on stage and such. And Todd had talked about how he likes to sit with a stage manager ahead of time and, kind of block out the show, rough blocking.
Right.
In order to have a plan coming into rehearsals.
Yeah.
And then as you're in rehearsals, he's looking to you as he's watching what's on stage to remember what it is that you agreed to was
Right.
the roughly right blocking. And makes tweaks, and you're capturing those tweaks as he makes them and such.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. So so we get through rehearsal process, and then when everybody who isn't necessarily directly involved in theater doesn't have a good sense of how the show develops. At what point do you actually get the set on stage for the actors to work on?
So at SVP, we have back-to-back shows. And so when one show closes, they tear down the set. And the next weekend, my set builder, who happens to be you this time, will start building the set the following Saturday. And then we can start, even if it's just the framework of that kind of the skeleton of the set where it's not painted and looks nice, and maybe we have a few pieces of furniture up there, but then you get a better sense of how the show starts coming together. Right. with lines, and when people are off book, meaning they've memorized all of their lines already, books out of their hands, you've got the flow of the show, and now you just hone your craft. Mm-hmm. And now you start tweaking more of inflections in tone or that kind of thing.
And when you go through those rehearsals, the director is capturing notes, what they call notes for the actors and that sort of thing.
Right.
And you're documenting those notes to share with the actors, or how does that work?
Depending on what the notes are, sometimes I'll capture them, sometimes it's just for, the actors themselves. But usually when people now know their lines, or think they know their lines, and they're off book and we're still rehearsing, my nose is in the script. And then if an actor all of a sudden calls out line, I've got to know where we are on the script. Right. So I can feed them the lines so then we can keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Good deal. So another thing that, so very quickly, what inspired the start of this podcast was the experience that you and I had with a good friend of ours, Tara, that had gone to some live performances with us, and we were sharing with her some of the things that we were seeing and were appreciating in the live performance that she completely missed as being somebody who hasn't been behind the curtain.
Right.
And so that inspired the opportunity here to improve everybody's experience in live performance by having a better understanding of how it comes together. One of the things that really makes a difference in the show that is completely, under the current, if you will, is the scene changes. Particularly when you have a show that you have lots of different scenes that you need to portray, which is not Come Blow Your Horn. Come Blow Your Horn's a single set show.
Right.
But your prior show that you did at SVP, Lion in Winter,
Yes.
we were following the story through all these different chambers within the castle, and so
Yes.
there was constant movement in terms of the set. And given that we went with a light design on the set in terms of walls and such, so that it became easy to change the structure. There was a lot of set pieces in terms of furniture and things like that.
Yeah.
You never want to have dead space in a show.
Right.
How do you, as a stage manager, and what is your responsibility as a stage manager in terms of figuring out how to make those transitions work and minimize the downtime between scenes?
So for me, it takes several hours to figure it out. And it's not always perfect, and we'll perfect it during rehearsal. But what I do first is I list out all the furniture and props that need to come on.
Yep.
And list out all the furniture and props that need to come off during a scene. So Lion in Winter had 10 scenes. So there was constantly things coming on and off. After I've got that all figured out, then I've got to assign stage crew, and sometimes we have to use the actors as well.
Yeah.
And so then I have to think about what actor is changing costume, because that person's not going to be able to help. Is somebody going to immediately come on stage? I really don't like to use them either to help, because they're thinking about their lines before they come on. So then I also have to think, okay, where did this person come off? What side of the stage are they on? What can they bring on seamlessly? That there's not a traffic jam, there's too many people over here. So I try to make it smooth, but quick.
Mm-hmm.
I like 30 seconds or under to change an entire scene, because the audience is sitting there. And I find that the other thing that has been working is, instead of a blackout or closing the curtain, which takes way too much time, do a blue out. Mm-hmm. So it's just dark, blue on stage, so you can see all of us moving things on and off, but you're entertained by it, and so you don't. It's not as long as you think it might be if the change takes a little bit longer than 30 seconds.
And I actually heard that from audience members for Lion in Winter, where they said that it looked like a ballet on stage.
Right.
It was so well choreographed, the way things moved, that it actually added to the enjoyment of the show and the way that was handled.
Which I'm so glad people came away with that.
Appreciate it.
I really did.
I know that was a big lift.
It was.
You had mentioned actors getting changed. Sometimes there's quick changes in between scenes and such. How does that happen backstage?
So sometimes I have set up on the side of the stage, not even in the dressing rooms, on the side of the stage, if somebody has a super quick change. And I'll have pants ready on the floor. I'll have jackets ready to throw on them. Whatever they need, we're there to help.
Yeah, I recall. I think it was Alice in Wonderland, where the queen walked off and had to walk back on as the mother, like in less than 30 seconds.
10
right?
seconds.
10 seconds.
We got her from being a mom with full wig and dress in 10 seconds. We got her out.
It's amazing.
But there was 4 of us.
4 people working on and one actor to get
one actor to get her ready.
That's like the pit stop in the Indianapolis 500. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about intermission, right? Because from the audience's perspective, the curtain closes, it's the end of an act,
right?
And the lights come up and they get to enjoy snacks. Are you guys partying backstage, or what's going on there?
I'm not partying backstage, and usually actors are in the dressing rooms looking over their lines for the second act. Me, as soon as that curtain, I close the curtain, I set my timer to 15 minutes, and then we scramble, me and the stage crew, whoever's back there with me. And we take off anything that needs to come off the stage, if there's a scene change, any props that got broken during the scene. We're fixing stuff, filling stuff if there's wine on stage, fake wine, that kind of thing. Then, once that I'm all set, then I have to go into the lounge where the concession is, and 3 minutes before we're ready to open curtain, I'm letting everybody know, hey, we're ready to start Act 2. Takes everybody a little bit of time to get upstairs. I monitor, make sure nobody's in the bathrooms, so that way, nobody's stuck downstairs when I shut off all the lights. And then we wait for everybody to sit down. I'm talking to the tech in the booth, so then they know to start lowering the lights, shut off the music, and then we're ready to roll. So it's not relaxing for me, but I'm glad the audience has time for a snack.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started in community theater.
Well, it was my son Adam who came to you and I, I don't know, 15 years ago, and asked us, hey, I think I'd like to act. I was like, okay, and then you and then our daughter Jessie said, yeah, let's go for a play. Let's, go audition. And I thought, well, I don't want to be an actor because I don't think I can act on stage. How can I get involved? So then we can all do something together, because the process is, 3 to 4 months long. So if you guys are constantly in rehearsal, I don't see anybody for a while. So I started out as a backstage mom where I was helping kids get on and off costumes and that kind of thing, helping organize, different things. And then one time a director came to me and said, hey, did you ever stage manage? I was like, I don't even know what that is. She says, oh, I'll show you how to do it. Why don't you stage manage my next production? And so, so that's how I got started.
And from what you've described, it's a lot of managerial experience, project management, people skills, and such.
Sure.
And speaking of that, I've experienced obviously other stage managers and
Sure.
whatnot, and I've heard feedback from other stage managers where some of them think that you baby the actors too much. So tell me about your approach and why you do what you do in terms of taking care of the actors.
So here's my thing. I can appreciate actors not only have to memorize all their lines, they got to know what props they've got to bring on or off. They've got to know when they have to get changed and what costume they're getting changed into if they have multiple costumes. I feel like they do a lot. So I'm okay with, writing backstage. I have a list of all the scene changes, if there's scene changes, who's doing what. Sometimes, the weekly emails, some may think it's a real pain. I just want to make sure we all have the information. We're all on the same page. Nobody forgot or, didn't get the message or whatever. I'm super organized just by nature, and that's how I run backstage. I'm just super organized. I think some people, appreciate it. Some people may be like, oh, God, more emails.
We err on the side of over-communication.
Yes, yes.
So you got a nice letter after Over the River and Through the Woods from an actor about, making accommodations for him. He was having trouble getting up and down stairs and things like that, and he mentioned something to you, and the next day you had railings put in so that he'd be able to get up and down and that sort of stuff. So those are other things that people don't think about with regard to stage management, but an important role as the person who runs the show behind the scenes.
Right. I try to help them out as much as I can with, putting props that are convenient for where they are so they can come off on a scene or grab what they need and they don't have to hunt for it or look for it or that kind of thing. I think it's nice, and I think it's important if you want a good show and you want everybody to have a good experience, because not only do you want to put on a good show, but you want to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So then you come out and do it again and have fun.
Absolutely. For our viewing audience, Somerset Valley Players will be opening Come Blow Your Horn March 6th, and will be running Fridays and Saturdays at 8 p.m., Sundays at 2 p.m. through March 22nd. Stay tuned right here for more exciting episodes from Making the Fourth Wall for a peek behind the curtain at community theater.